Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Massachusetts Pirate Party News. I'm joined today, my name is James O'Keefe. I'm captain, and I'm joined today by Quartermaster Joe and First Officer Steve. How are the two of you today?
Hi to hell.
Things are fine. How about you, Jamie?
I'm okay, thanks. So the topics we're going to cover today include our the details about our spring conference. Healey saying that her office, the executive or the governor's office, is exempt from the state's public records law. Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, announcing that Russia is suspending its involvement in the New START Strategic Reduction Treaty, and some stuff before the Supreme Court about Section 230. So that's what we're going to cover today. As always, if you have any questions, we'll monitor the chat and we'll do our best to answer them. So with that, so correct me if I'm right, if I'm wrong, Steve, but on May 13th at noon, we'll be having our spring concert. I wish it was a spring concert. Our spring conference in Joe's neck of the woods in Lowell. It's also going to be a cookout for those who want to bring some food and have a nice time. It'll be starting at noon and going till, I don't know, 2, 3, something like that, until Joe kicks us out.
Yep, that
I,
sounds right.
I would never kick you out. We'll actually have two different ways of cooking food, a grill, and we will have a propane grill and a charcoal grill, depending on your preference. And so you can bring your own, you can cook your own food. No one's going to question or have an issue with it. The other thing is we'll just have coolers filled with drinks, and we'll try and get a nice spread of them, but I think the main point of this is we will be recording. So if you don't want to be on the internet, please let us know ahead of time. So that way we can be ensured to not keep your privacy safe. So.
Or get your Guy Fawkes mask or any other mask you so choose and bring it along. So with that out of the way, we don't have a member meeting this Thursday. We just had one, and the video will go up soon. Although the minutes are already up at our wiki at masspirates.org. But we will be having a member discussion at the U.S. Pirate Party Discord this Thursday at 9:00. We encourage folks who are interested to come by, just chat, stuff like that. If you can't, you can always post questions or comments at the Massachusetts section channel of the U.S. Pirate Party Discord, and we'll do our best to answer them or otherwise respond. So, in other local news, as I mentioned, Governor Healey says that her office is exempt from the state's public records laws, and Massachusetts is almost unique. Maybe even we are unique in that the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary are all exempt from public records law in Massachusetts. She has said that she will be more transparent, for whatever that means. And there's an interesting discussion from some journalists at WBUR, which we'll put a link in, about what that means. But, where we believe in transparency, we're not going to see that we're not going to see as much of it from this governor as we would like, and as we as citizens and residents deserve.
Another rule for the rulers and another rule for the us plebes. Yet again.
Absolutely. So the next topic we're going to talk about is is that Russia, due to the ongoing conflict, its invasion of Ukraine, doesn't like the US and NATO and other countries sending arms to the Ukrainians so that they can defend themselves from Russia's illegal invasion, has decided to suspend its involvement in the New START treaty. That treaty was set to expire shortly, sometime after Biden came into office, but Russia and the US agreed to extend it for another 5 years. Russia is not withdrawing from it. As some of you may know, President Trump withdrew us from the INF, which kept intermediate range nuclear weapons and indeed intermediate range weapons off of Europe, as well as Bush withdrew us from the anti-ballistic missile treaty, and Trump also withdrew us from the Open Skies treaty. Transparency, we're pirates, we like that. It's always a good thing. So with that, it's encouraging that it's suspended and not a withdrawal. There's no terms within it to actually suspend your involvement. So this is kind of new territory. We'll see how this goes. What are your thoughts, Joe and Steve?
More nuclear tests. We need to remind everyone why these things are absolutely terrifying.
I like your sarcasm there.
Well, I think part of it is we forgot that we could literally destroy all of the Earth with these things, and people don't seem to realize that people just saying, "Oh, I'm going to launch them," is a good or bad idea.
So one of the things that I've heard about about people's concerns is that if the treaty is actually ended, either because Russia withdraws or the United States withdraws, then that could set up a new set of escalation in building more nuclear weapons. To which I'd have to say, is 1,500 nuclear weapons? Well, we need more. The Russia, which has an economy that isn't doing terribly well and literally is pulling 60-year-old tanks out of storage in order to try and beat the Ukrainians, they're gonna build many more nuclear weapons? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know that there are some conservative hawks out there who are going to be, urging us to build more nuclear weapons, but literally there's no reason to do that. We have more than enough to destroy the world. Sorry, go Steve.
I was going to say in prior generations, sort of the underlying philosophy was mutually assured destruction. Both sides made sure they had enough weapons to destroy the other side many times over, at which point it becomes sort of an exercise in futility. I hope we don't go back to those days.
You want to say something, Joe?
Yeah, I think we are going back to those days because China just signed in and it was approved by their Congress or their version of Congress. I'm not sure how their system worked, but it was approved. They are building up a nuclear arsenal right now. In fact, China has had the largest budget growth of military the world has ever seen. So we're going to see what happens. But I'm not really for building more nuclear weapons, but I'm also not for having another country threaten us either. So I'm kind of on the fence on this one.
I mean, China has like 200 strategic nuclear weapons. We've got 1,500, right? So I had heard that they had built out a lot of ICBM silos in western parts of China, and other areas. And it's easy. You can go with civilian, satellite photos, and you can figure that out. It's all open source. But I don't know if they doubled or tripled it, we still have more than enough to destroy them, and indeed the entire world. So why do we need more? I mean, I don't know.
I don't think we necessarily need more. I'm just saying that the argument to be had, or the arguments I've seen, there's, oh yeah, these guys over here. When I'm more worried about Kim Jong crazy doing something and pissing off Japan, or hitting Japan, or the Philippines, or anyone else for that matter, just as a matter of facts. And then China getting dragged into it, and then we getting dragged into it, and that path of escalation.
Well, let's certainly hope not.
I mean, always hope.
So just for folks of you who don't know what New START is, and we'll put a link in the description, it limits the number of deployed ICBMs, SL submarine, that's intercontinental ballistic missile, submarine launched ballistic missiles, and bombers, heavy bombers, to, I believe, 700. The US has 659, and the Russian Federation has 540. The total number of warheads, where each bomber counts as one warhead, even though like each B-52 can carry some very large number of submarine launched ballistic cruise missiles, is 1,549 for the Russian Federation and 1,420 for the United States. So yeah, there's more than enough there to destroy the world many times over. As they said in war games, the only way to win is not to play. So speaking of playing, Supreme Court was looking at Section 230. You want to give us an update, Steve?
Sure. First, a little bit of background. Section 230 is Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. This is a 1990s era law. I think it might be even fair to say it's the law that allowed the internet to exist. What Section 230 does is it indemnifies service providers from what users post on their platform. So, originally this meant that, you want to have a website. So somebody hosts the website. They're hosting it, but you're basically allowed to say what you want. And, there's not any sort of preemptive screening or editorializing that goes on. It's your website. You can publish the stuff that you want to, you can put up the stuff that you want to put up. The service provider has some ability to, impose standards. And if there are complaints, they can, they do have a right to take you down. But it basically meant that, users could post things fairly freely. This extended to things like bulletin board systems, and then later on, things like social media. So this week, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in a case called Gonzalez versus Google. So the genesis of this is a 2015 terrorist attack, which killed an American who was in Paris at the time. And the plaintiff's claim is that Google aided ISIS by recommending videos via their recommendation algorithms. So, the essence of it is that, well, okay, yes, these videos are third-party content; they're fine under Section 230. But since Google is recommending, them to a user of the platform, that the claim is that that the act of recommendation crosses the line between just, passively replicating what a user put and then, actually engaging in speech itself. Now, the judges seem to be struggling with this one a little bit. So, for example, they have questioned how, a recommendation algorithm would be different than any other search engine. One of them noted that, the same algorithm that recommended these ISIS videos also would, say, recommend videos about cooking. But they don't appear to be, anxious to completely upend Section 230. But that doesn't mean this case will be inconsequential. One of the things that got some airing during the oral arguments was a thing called the Henderson test. So this comes from Henderson versus the Source for Public Data. Source for Public Data was a company that they seemed like they were a data broker. They gathered information from public records and consolidated it and, then packaged and sold it to people. So they were found, I gathered, to have violated Fair Credit Reporting Act by, failing to maintain accurate info. It seems like they may have argued that Section 230 protected them, gave them, eliminated their liability because they were just packaging up third-party information. But the test was that, it's third-party data, but since public data decided how to present it and, basically, they went beyond just displaying third-party data. They actually did summarizations and that sort of thing. They were liable as a publisher. So the question is, is the Henderson test applicable to search engine algorithms? So Google's attorneys seem to be at least kind of okay with this. But, there's one article I've found speculates, well, this is either a strategic move on Google's part to show that, there might be limits to Section 230 immunity, but still, if a provider becomes liable, or a search engine or a video site, because it summarizes or aggregates, that could potentially be a big change to how Section 230 is interpreted. So I don't know when the follow-up arguments will be, but this is something that we will be watching. Thank you, Jamie.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we thought it was interesting. I mean, the particular company in the Henderson suit. I mean, I know it's public information, and we do support public information being out there, but at the same time, some of that information could be deemed private, and I feel like we really need a decent privacy law to cover these particular situations.
Mm-hmm.
Because they, you go and you aggregate all this information and you present it as truth, and then someone could make a poor decision based on that.
Yeah, I mean, especially with legal proceedings, one of the objections about public data brokers is, sometimes a person might have been convicted of, whatever. And then at some later point in time, the conviction's overturned, the record is expunged, but the former conviction record, it's still the brokers still have it and they're still handing it out. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard cases where people have complained about so-and-so was arrested by the police, and the news reported that, and then they don't report that, oh yeah, the case was thrown out, because the police lied or the police really didn't have any data or anything. Like they didn't have any justification for their arrest. And that they don't follow up with that. And, that's a problem, especially if you're an African-American man who's looking for a job and someone goes and searches, oh, here you had this, you were arrested by the police, but there's nothing like, yeah, I wasn't doing anything. The police just arrested me because I mouthed off at them or something like that.
Yeah, and occasionally, the police do arrest the wrong person. This, it happens.
Probably more than occasionally. So I did like Kagan's quote, we're a court, we really don't know about these things. These are not like the 9 greatest experts on the internet, which hopefully they'll show a degree of humility on that before they make a ruling.
This is refreshing, very refreshing. And I appreciate them for saying that. To know what you know and to know that which you do not know, that is true knowledge.
So any further thoughts?
Well, let's hope they don't in open mouth insert vote when it comes to doing the legislation for this. And I do 100% agree. We do need new privacy and security legislation up in there. Maybe we can get together during our little get together to write up a bill for Congress, for down at the Congress, and see if we can't push one through.
That sounds excellent. And so with that, I want to thank the two of you for joining me here on this week's Pirate News. Thanks for folks watching, either live or after the fact. We hope you found this useful and illuminating. You can always find us at masspirates.org, where you can sign up for our supporter list or find our Twitter, Mastodon, Facebook, and the like instances. And please do, if you enjoy this content, please give us a like, share it. And if you want to find out when these are coming out, we try to do this at least once a week. Well, we try to do this once a week. We don't always get to that. Do subscribe and click that bell. So with that, I hope the two of you have a pleasant evening, and may we all remain safe in the year ahead.
And batten down those hatches.
Good advice. Bye. Okay. We're done.